This is the time now in our service where we take a moment or two for quiet prayer and reflection, a time of meditation and a time of silence. And just as we sang in our meditation song about every breath, every touch, every movement, every thought, Jesus, our master teacher and our way shower, lived his life in that manner. He demonstrated love and peace and joy in every moment, in every thought, in every touch, and in every movement. And he lived life in the flow of grace. And he came not to be served, but to serve. And throughout his life, and ultimately right up until the moment of his death, he surrendered his will to the will of the divine. And so I invite you now to consider what it means to surrender our will, my will. What does it mean to surrender? And what does it mean to say, "Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord." What would it be if just for an hour we surrendered our will and were willing to stand with arms and hands open and declaring, "Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord." What would it mean for us to spend an entire morning in that attitude of surrender? Arms open, heart open, and mind open. Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord. Could we spend an entire day surrendering our will? And at every choice point in that day, to simply surrender and say, "Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord." And so I invite you to take that question into your heart space, into that place where you feel the presence of the divine. And in that place, to simply surrender into a few moments of silence. And so I invite you now to gently return your attention and focus to this room. But I also invite you to embrace an intention to be in the flow of grace throughout the remainder of this day. To be willing to follow the example of our master teacher and way shower. And in every situation and circumstance, to simply surrender. And affirm to yourself, here I am, Lord. It is I. We claim this through the power of our indwelling Christ consciousness. And together we say, Amen. So, it seems like it was just yesterday that we were celebrating Advent and Christmas and the beginning of the year. And here we are. Easter is next week. Hard to believe. Hard to believe. But, as the song says, time does go by in the blink of an eye. Sun's getting higher, and we are all moving on. Yes? Yeah, that's true. So, I was driving in this morning, and a robin flew up and landed smack dab in front of my car. And I hit the brakes, and of course they always take off at the very last moment, you know. But I thought, message. So I figured I had a choice. I could make some sort of diagnostic judgment and labeling of the robin and the robin's intentions. or I could simply notice that it is indeed spring, and it's time for me to be paying a bit more attention to it. Because indeed, time does go by in the blink of an eye. So, we are celebrating Palm Sunday today. And throughout Christianity, the story is being shared of Jesus' triumphant entry into the city of Jerusalem. And last year, during the season of Lent, we took some time to consider the life and times of Jesus. And so we know that at this point in his life, at this point in his ministry, that he's been traveling all up and down the region of Palestine, preaching in all of these different towns. He's been teaching and preaching and performing miracles. And while it's true that his inner circle remained relatively small because they were constantly on the move, traveling from town to town, very large numbers of people had heard him and had seen him. And his message and his miracles had literally touched thousands of people at this point in time. And many of those people we know had a very tough way to go in life. There wasn't much except work. There was work, and then there was work, and then there was a little bit more work. And it was very easy for them to fall behind. If they missed a beat, they could tumble into an incredible series of circumstances which would put them off their land and all of those sorts of things. And many of those people that Jesus was reaching out to and touching with his message and his teachings and his miracles were looking for a way out of Roman oppression. So certainly they were interested in what he had to say, but many of them were also very interested in what possibly he might do. Many thought that he would be the one to overthrow the existing order and become the new king. And so as they all converged on the road to Jerusalem to celebrate the feast of Passover, as was their custom to travel to their holy city for that feast, they put the palms and their cloaks down into the road as he was passing by. They gave him the royal treatment because that's what they did when royalty would pass by. They would put their cloaks down on the road. They would put palms down. And so they were doing that for Jesus as he was entering Jerusalem. But it was not his mission to lead a rebellion. In fact, his mission was quite the opposite. In John, we read, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you." And so he gave us a message of peace, but he gave us so much more than that. And so today I'm starting a short little series that's called The Legacy of Our Master Teacher. And we're going to take a little bit of time over the next few weeks to explore the legacy he left for us, the gifts that he gave to us. And the first thing we're going to explore this morning is his invitation to us. He came and he invited many of us into something very different, something people hadn't heard before. He invited us into a new way of thinking, and a new way of looking at the world. And there's a nice illustration of that in Luke. It's the story of how he called his first disciples. And I'd like to share that with you. And so once while Jesus was standing beside the lake of Gennesaret, and the crowd was pressing in on him to hear the word of God, he saw two boats there at the shore of the lake. Now the fishermen had gone away from those boats and were washing the nets. So he got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little way from the shore. And then he sat down in the boat and began to teach the crowds from a little ways out in the water. And when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep water and cast your nets." And Simon answered, "Master, we have been working all night, and we caught nothing. Yet if you say so, I will let down the nets." And when they had done this, they caught so many fish that their nets were breaking. They signaled to their partners back on the shore to bring the other boat and to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats to the point where both boats began to sink. But when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man." For he and all who were with him were amazed at the catch. They couldn't believe the number of fish they had taken in. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on you will be catching people." And when they had brought their boats back to the shore, they left everything behind and followed him. So, in his book, A True Lent, Charles Fillmore tells us that in scriptures, ideas are symbolized by fish. And he describes an idea as the original, primary, and unlimited thought of being. Think about that. An unlimited thought of being. Ideas have a brilliance and a clarity that is absolute, conceptual, and unchanging. This idea that Jesus brought to us was one of unlimited being. And so while ideas have that purity, our thoughts, which are rattling and rumbling all day long, more often than not, they tend to be random, they tend to be reactive, they tend to be relational, they tend to be reflective. So they lack that purity. They lack that absoluteness of an idea. We often see a picture of someone with a light bulb going on above their head to represent an idea. And ideas do have that clarity and that brilliance, and they do shine a light. So in this story from Luke that I shared with you this morning, They had been out fishing all night long, and they had caught absolutely nothing. But yet Jesus said, "Go deeper and try again." And that was his first invitation to them: go deeper and try again. And the results were very different. They had so many fish that their nets were breaking. So our master teacher is inviting us into an abundance of ideas. Original, primary, unlimited ideas of being. And one of the ideas that shows up in his teachings over and over again is this idea that things don't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be this way. He is constantly using his own brilliant, clear concept of unlimited being, to give others a lift, a boost, past whatever's showing up in their lives. Whatever's showing up in their lives in a limiting kind of way. And he uses repeatedly his crystal clear idea of unlimited being, such that the blind can see, the sick are healed, the hungry are fed, and even the dead are made to live again. An idea of unlimited being. So when we apply that, when we look around in our lives and we see whatever limiting conditions are showing up for us, whatever's happening right now, that is an absolute pure perfection. We have the ability, the power, the idea, the permission from our teacher to say, it doesn't have to be like this. It does not have to be like this. It doesn't. Whether it's bills to pay, credit card debt, physical or emotional challenges that we might be experiencing, sadness, depression, unfulfilling jobs, unfulfilling relationships. Doesn't matter what that limiting condition is, because it doesn't have to be like this. So I'm encouraging you to accept his invitation. Embrace that idea of unlimited being. That's why you're here. That's why he came. And don't be afraid to cast your net into deeper water. Don't be afraid to move to another spot and cast your net again. And now I want to invite you to take a moment to think about something that's coming up for you, something that's going on for you that is symbolic of that empty net. I don't need a lot of time to put a couple of ideas together for myself, but I'm going to give you a moment to, again, think about a situation or a circumstance in your life that symbolizes that empty net. You know, you've been working at it from 17 ways from Sunday, worrying the problem, and it's just not working out for you. And so you have this situation that's kind of this empty net metaphor. And now that you know what it is, I want you to just put it right down there in front of you. Put it right down there in front of you. Take your hands off of it. Because we're not going to take it apart. We're not going to analyze it. We're not going to try to figure out how it got to be like this. We're not going to figure out what to do next. We're not going to try to figure out what is the answer. How can we solve this? We're just going to simply recognize it, take our hands off of it, and declare our intention. It doesn't have to be like this. Say it with me. It doesn't have to be like this. And right now, that's all you need to do. You simply have to declare your intention. It doesn't have to be like this. When you step into that space and you say, it doesn't have to be like this, you don't need the answers, you don't need the solution. But you need to be willing to put your net down and see what sort of ideas come to you. Because the universe will answer if you are in fact listening. But you have to get rid of those thoughts, those random, reactive, relational, reflective thoughts, and make room for a brilliant, clear idea of unlimited being. And if you are willing to accept that invitation, it will change. There's one other aspect of his invitation that I want to share with you this morning. And that is this. We are here to do something other than just pass the time. And we know that time is going by very quickly. We are here to make a difference. Here to make a difference in our own life, in the lives of others, and by the way, in the world outside of our doors. We're here to make a difference. Now, this morning we heard the story of how Jesus extended his invitation to his disciples and how they responded to his invitation. I'm going to tell you something, friends. They are not the only ones who are called. Because each and every one of us has some calling. There is something inside of you, a freer, happier self that just wants to come out. A freer, fuller expression of that divine nature, of that idea of unlimited being. It wants out. And we're here to make a difference. We all have unique gifts, talents, abilities, experiences. Each one of us has our own special light to shine. And when we step into that space, when we embrace that idea of unlimited being, we become a force for change and transformation in our own lives and out in the world. So our master teacher has invited us to move your nets to a different place, cast them into deeper waters, because we all have a calling. And there's one aspect of this invitation that is the real kicker. And it's this: do not let the good life get in the way of the better life. I fought that one for years. And I'm not just talking a couple of years. I'm talking 10, 15 years I fought with that one. You know? Because I kept getting this whisper. And I kept saying, yeah, but I just got a promotion. And I'm doing really good on my job, you know? And I'm taking these classes, and I got this stuff going on with my family, you know, and I'm doing this thing over here, you know, in the community, you know, and I'm volunteering, and I'm writing checks. I'm writing checks to all these really good causes. Oh, no. I don't want to hear that calling. But each one of us is being called to give something, to express that freer, fuller self, that perfect idea of unlimited being. So there's important work to be done. And oh, by the way, most of it exists just beyond our comfort zone. So, you know, odds are if we'd like to make a difference in the world, we've got to get up off the couch in order to do that. Because if it was easy, well, everybody would be doing it if it was easy, yes. If it was easy, it would be done by now. But it's not always easy. And it's not done. And it is ours to do. So step into that shift of consciousness. You know, accept that invitation from Jesus to think about things in a different way. To take a different look at the world and how we are in it. To embrace that beautiful primary idea of unlimited being. So I want to close with an affirmation, and you get to participate. We're going to do it in two parts first, two separate parts, and then we'll take a moment and put it all together. So the first part goes like this. First part goes like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Together? It doesn't have to be like this. Yeah, one more time. It doesn't have to be like this. Because I am here to make a difference. Together. Because I am here to make a difference, right? Because I am here to make a difference. We put it all together. It doesn't have to be like this because I am here to make a difference. And you do. Each and every one of you. You do make a difference. And it matters. God bless you.